This is the Wrestling Old Head. You have entered the portal of pro wrestling.
What the world is watching.
Saturday, September the 20th, 2025, WWE presents WrestlePalooza from Indianapolis, Indiana. This marks the first time we have seen WWE, or actually I should rephrase that, the first time that we're seeing the name WrestlePalooza since 2000, which was produced by former Extreme Championship Wrestling, the assets of which was acquired by the WWE in 2003. This marks a head-to-head battle with AEW All Out that coincides on the same day and will at some point converge. It was originally going to be a true head-to-head battle. I believe that is unprecedented in professional wrestling, where I do not believe there was ever a head-to-head battle between two wrestling companies on the same night on a pay-per-view platform. I know they do PLEs now, but we're looking back into the history books, and I cannot remember that ever happening. AEW All Out was then moved to more of an early afternoon time slot, but we know how long most AEW pay-per-views run, so the idea is that we will more than likely see some type of convergence, whether the main event of All Out coincides with the opening of WrestlePalooza or they go deeper down the rabbit hole. So, WrestlePalooza has a pretty strong lineup so far. Thus far, we only have 5 matches as of Sunday, September the 14th, as I'm recording this. So we're going to break these on down. And what I'm going to try to do as I break these down like a shotgun, we're going to try to look at all the different angles and possibilities, and then I'm going to try to go with the one that makes the most sense to me as far as predictions go. So, without further ado, let's jump right into it. Io Sky against Stephanie Vaquer for the vacant Women's World Championship. This has been a nominal build-up. What I mean by that is there has been none. For whatever reason, Vaquer has been off of television without explanation, and Io Sky has done a brunt of the build-up work. Now, Vaquer was promised a World Championship match at WrestlePalooza. We didn't know what the pay-per-view or PLE name was at the time. We later found out that it is WrestlePalooza. The original opponent for Stephanie Vaquer was supposed to be Naomi, who won the Women's World Championship in a 3-way dance, and or a triple threat match, however you want to call it. I like to call it a 3-way dance because I grew up with ECW. And Naomi was then announced as pregnant. So because of her pregnancy, she had to vacate the Women's World Championship. So Vaquer was no longer going to wrestle Naomi. Instead, the title was held up. Stephanie Vaquer was guaranteed that opportunity at the title, and then later it was announced to be Io Sky. We were supposed to see a contract signing on Raw. That was canceled. And we really haven't seen much of Stephanie Vaquer in about 2.5 months or so. No matches. Rare to see her backstage. Very little promo work. And now we are within a week, 5 days away from the big event. And there has been very little buildup for this match. So, of course, you know that there were rumor and conjecture that we would see Stephanie Vaquer announce that she herself was pregnant or that she was injured. The rumor as of this weekend was that she was learning how to strengthen her English pronunciations, her English competency, her ability to speak English more clearly on the microphone. Totally understand that. And if you were to look at NXT this past Tuesday, I thought she did a phenomenal job cutting a promo in the ring. So if that was the case, it is actually working and she's picking it up. I personally never had a problem with her English speaking ability. I was able to pick up on everything that she was able to say. The same with Io Sky. It really doesn't do much for me. I'm used to language barriers and learning multiple languages. I don't know very many English languages, or I don't know very many languages outside of the English language, I should say. However, I do understand those that have an ability to speak multiple languages, and I can understand the accent changes and things like that, and I can pick up a majority of what they say. So it's really not a problem for someone like me, but I can understand as a whole, most casual viewers and other viewers may have a problem understanding, and that's fine. And she wants to be more of a world-renowned superstar, and that is going to help her in many ways. And so I applaud her for that ability. Going into the matchup, Vaquer and Io Sky have put on, I believe it was 2 fantastic television matches that have ended in non-decisions. Whether it's a double disqualification, double countout, interference, whatever was going on, there's not been a clear, concise, decisive winner. So in this matchup, you have an opportunity for Stephanie Vaquer to win the Women's World Championship, propelling her up into the heights, and then potentially going on to Perth in October and defending against Rhea Ripley. And we all know what can happen when you get Rhea Ripley in Australia vying for the Women's World Championship. More than likely, we're going to see Rhea Ripley win, right? So there you go. So then you look at Io Sky, and in Io Sky's position, she has always beaten Rhea Ripley. And in fact, the running storyline that we have here is that Rhea Ripley cannot beat Io Sky, whether it's with another woman involved or in singles competition. So, all likely, it points to Io Sky winning this match against Stephanie Vaquer, and then going on to challenge or to defend her Women's World Championship against Rhea Ripley. And I do feel like that is the most likely, the most obvious, and more than likely the way that they go with this program is Rhea Ripley against Io Sky. Given that Vaquer has not been on television, whether it is for her learning the English language, for an injury, for whatever it may be, they still need to build her momentum up a little bit more. I don't believe that they have built her up in a way that justifies a Women's World Championship win, and especially against Io Sky. Now they could go that route and shock the world, and she would be over. She would be one of the most, because they're ready to cheer her. They're ready to get behind her. But for her absence on television, at least in front of a live crowd for as long as she's been, I really don't know if they're going with her in that capacity is the right move. So because of that, I'm going to go with Io Sky here. I believe she defends the championship against Rhea Ripley, and I think there is a strong chance that Rhea Ripley walks out of Perth, Australia as the Women's World Champion. So let's move on. The Usos battle The Vision, consisting of Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. I would not be surprised if you see Paul Heyman show up in some form or fashion in this match. Let's look at both sides here. So the Usos win. They go in through the tag division on Raw, which desperately needs some tag teams, and they end up challenging the New Day for the tag team championships, which the history between the New Day and the Usos is vast. They had a Hell in a Cell match that was spectacular. And then they go ahead and win the tag team championships on Raw. That is one way of looking at it. Another way of looking at it is that Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker, having lost against Roman Reigns and Jey Uso not too long ago, get a win on a PLE in big fashion and propel themselves further up the tag division to eventually challenge, once they win the tag titles, challenge or defend against the Usos. You can have a big rematch between them because the storyline it just basically writes itself at this point. So because of that, I am going to go with Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed here. And one of the reasons why is because Jimmy Uso has noticed a change in behavior in Jey Uso. Jey Uso has started to mirror some of what made Roman Reigns the tribal chief from the beginning. And he's feeling like this is the way that he needs to go. Having won the world championship and is looking to get the world championship back, I believe he is clouded and shrouded in this idea that a change in attitude is going to be best for him, okay? He's got the one thing that's different, and I don't know if they're going to touch on this little small note psychologically, is that Roman Reigns was fed to us in a way to where the crowd universally all over pushed back. They did not want him in that top face position, that top guy position as the big dog. They vehemently denied the fact that they wanted him there. And so Roman Reigns, because of that, got paranoid, thought he could lean into his family, but thought he needed to teach the family tough love. That was the build-up. That was the ground build for what ended up becoming Roman Reigns as the tribal chief running with the bloodline. So with Jey Uso, we're starting to notice that he's getting a similar mindset. However, he has more popularity than Roman Reigns had at that time, right? And I think if Jimmy pushes that idea, it can change the demeanor, and he can realize that the crowd loves him. And no matter what he hears online or no matter what's going on in the ring, that he should actually believe in that. And I believe the only person that's going to do that outside of Jimmy Uso is probably Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn can be that voice of reason that encourages Jey Uso to accept who he is and love himself no matter what, and that he doesn't have to change himself in order to be the best, right? I think that would be a great message, and I also think that is a likely scenario for that to happen. But I believe we need to get there before we get there. And in order to get there, then he's going to have to make a couple of mistakes in the process. And I think one of the mistakes is going to be to lose to Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. And don't for a second discount LA Knight's involvement in this matchup. Now, as you saw this past Monday on Raw, Jey Uso speared the living daylights out of LA Knight and said, now we good. We good now. Yeah, we good now. And knowing LA Knight, things are not good. And LA Knight is going to look for his revenge to get a lick back, if you will, as the young kids say, on Jey Uso. So look for that to actually play a factor. And whether or not it's an actual full heel turn, that is for another video. I'm here to talk about predictions for the PLE. So I will say LA Knight's involvement is almost a guarantee for this. And I do feel that Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed walk out victorious, whether it's decisively or via a tainted situation is completely up in the air, but I can almost guarantee you that LA Knight will get involved. Yeah. So let's move on. CM Punk and AJ Lee against Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch, one of the most anticipated mixed tag team matchups that I actually can remember. This would be as if Sensational Sherry and Shawn Michaels at their height battled Randy Savage and Miss Elizabeth. And I mean that with the utmost respect indeed, because Randy Savage and Elizabeth's love and their connection in the ring captivated the hearts of many wrestling fans and even fans that were not wrestling fans. They just saw the chemistry, they saw the love, and they wanted to be a part of that, right? And I can see that mirrored in CM Punk and AJ Lee. With Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch, they are the weasels. They are the nefarious tag team that is trying to rule the world. And I can definitely see with the flamboyance of Seth Rollins and kind of the cattiness of Becky Lynch that they can almost mirror Shawn Michaels and Sensational Sherry when they were at the height. Sensational Sherry being the one that was doing the ad-libs for the Heartbreak Kids theme song at its beginning there. So who's going to walk away victorious? Now, if Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch walk away victorious via cheat, via whatever, CM Punk again looks like a loser, right? Because he's been getting trounced upon, he's been getting screwed over for many, many months at this point. Seth Rollins has always found a way to screw him out of a big opportunity. Now, AJ Lee, this is her return for the first time in 10 years. She has not been in a WWE ring in 10 years. This was her big return. So if she is then screwed over, there is more ammo for her to go after Becky Lynch's Intercontinental Championship. But in the other side of the coin here, if CM Punk and AJ Lee do win, and let's say it's AJ Lee that pins Becky Lynch, now AJ Lee can say that she pinned the Intercontinental Women's Champion in Becky Lynch, and she has more of an advantage to challenge Becky Lynch for that Intercontinental Championship. And that's where I feel like they're going to go. They're going to go with CM Punk trying to pin Seth Rollins and falling short over and over again, because that's what they're building to. They're building towards CM Punk finally pinning Seth Rollins cleanly and winning the World Championship. So you don't want to give that away at WrestlePalooza, even though they have been building WrestlePalooza as one of the bigger of PLE spectaculars. albeit it came at such a short notice, right? But they're doing a good job of building this up. This event is stacked, right? But you don't want to give away a big moment like that in a mixed tag match. You would want to give that away in a singles match. If you have to do a triple threat, I would understand it. You add in Roman Reigns and Fuego. But we're not quite there with CM Punk pinning Seth Rollins, but I believe we are there with AJ Lee pinning Becky Lynch, and I do believe that's what's going to happen to eventually put AJ Lee against Becky Lynch for the Women's Intercontinental Championship, whenever that may happen, whether it be at Perth, whether it be at Survivor Series, or later on down the line, maybe even on a Raw, maybe on a Saturday night's main event. Wherever they decide to go with that, that is, to me, the trajectory there. And I think that's how they get there with AJ Lee pinning Becky Lynch. So I've got CM Punk and AJ Lee coming out victorious. Delving forward, a match that was just signed this past Friday. Drew McIntyre challenges for the undisputed WWE Championship against Cody Rhodes, the man that was put out by Drew McIntyre mere weeks ago with the, I can never remember that name, the Claymore Kick, I believe. Claymore Kick. Why do I never remember that name? I can never remember that name. It's always eluded me. Yes, Drew McIntyre put out Cody Rhodes with the Claymore Kick mere weeks ago, smashing his head through the bottom or the side panel of the WWE commentators table and putting him out so that he can go beguile in Street Fighter. So now Cody Rhodes is back for revenge. So Cody Rhodes is more than likely going to win. I don't know if it's the end of Drew McIntyre and Cody Rhodes in this instance. I wouldn't rule out an interference from Randy Orton at some point or another, who has been dealing with several losing streaks. He lost the tag match with Jelly Roll at SummerSlam, and then he loses a singles match to Drew McIntyre on SmackDown. So don't know where they're going with Randy Orton at this point, as far as like the trajectory, where they see him. It would be interesting to see where they go with that. But wherever they decide to go with that, I think right now you're going to see Cody Rhodes beat Drew McIntyre. And finally, the main event, or what I would assume to be the main event, is John Cena against Brock Lesnar. Now, Brock Lesnar, this is his first match back. He's been gone for a couple of years. And you can go about this one of two ways. You can have Super Cena show up, he beats Brock Lesnar, and then he moves on to someone else. Another challenge awaits him in Perth in October. Or what they can do is have Brock Lesnar win, and then you have the rematch at Perth in October. And that stretches out opponents. I can't for the life of me think of anyone aside from maybe a return to the ring for Wade Barrett. I'm afraid I've got some bad news. Barrett could show up as a challenger for John Cena, and it would explain why they put him off the commentators, color commentators table. And they said that he was on vacation and everything. It could have been a red herring, if you will, and could bring Wade Barrett back to challenge John Cena in a retirement match. I can definitely see that. I don't foresee that match being blockbuster enough to main event a PLE, but I think it would be something special for John Cena, considering that the Nexus did play a big part in Super Cena at the beginning there. So that's a potential. That has a potential to be something big. Man, it's really tough now that I think about John Cena and Wade Barrett, which of course they can push that off until Survivor Series. I think it would be apropos, if you will, if they did it at Survivor Series, considering John Cena teamed with the Nexus and wore a Nexus shirt at Survivor Series, if you remember that. So because of that, I'm going to go and swing for the fences here, and I'm going to say Brock Lesnar gets a win, and they have that rematch at Perth in October. Yeah, so I'm going to go with Brock Lesnar to get the victory here. That's just a little bit of a wild card pick, if you will. My heart tells me that John Cena is going to win, but I want to go against the grain here and against most people's popular consensus, and I'm going to say that Brock Lesnar scores the victory, and they have that huge rematch in Perth, Australia, to stack the deck up for that PLE, if you will. So those are my predictions, you guys. What do you guys think is going to happen at WrestlePalooza this Saturday, September the 20th? Go ahead and let me know. Drop it down in the comments section below. Thank you guys so much for listening. And Make sure you hit the subscribe and the notifications bell, because you never know when I'm going to be coming out of the portal of pro wrestling to drop you with some hotness and give you what you love, that information on professional wrestling, something that I've loved since I was 3 years old. It's true. It's damn true. So be on the lookout for my all out predictions video coming soon. And until then, you guys, stay tuned for more.